Two students follow the same routine, but only one actually learns anything. Why does that happen? One student spends barely half an hour reviewing each day, sleeps well, keeps friends close, and still manages to land near the top of every class. Another student grinds for hours, sacrifices rest, rarely sees anyone, and yet fights just to stay above average. A curious contrast, but not because one is gifted and the other is not. Someone is using methods that work, someone isn't. Before going further, the viewer is invited to silently rate their own study habits from 1 to 10. That number might shift dramatically by the end of this breakdown. A turning point arrives in the form of a quiet night long ago. A student sat in a cramped room surrounded by empty cups, half-open notebooks, and a clock that had just struck 3 in the morning. Hours had already been poured into rereading and rewriting material for an upcoming psychology test. Everything looked neat, organized, almost impressive, yet almost none of it stayed in memory. It felt like trying to gather water with loose fingers. That exam did not go well, and the failure forced a realization: effort without strategy collapses. Most learners unknowingly fall for a comforting illusion. They coat pages with color, rewrite entire chapters, or stare at the same paragraph until it loses meaning. It feels productive because time is being used, but time is not the same as learning. A person could spend an hour choosing the perfect color palette for notes while understanding almost nothing. Another might design playlists, desk layouts, or elaborate routines that look productive but don't move the needle. Schools often reinforce this misconception by assigning hours rather than outcomes. But the brain responds to quality, not duration. It isn't an absorbent sponge. It behaves more like a muscle that strengthens when challenged and weakens when overloaded. A simple equation helps illustrate this. Actual learning equals information multiplied by retention. Imagine someone studies for 5 hours but only keeps 10% of what they reviewed. They have essentially captured 30 minutes of knowledge. Another person spends 1 hour but keeps half. That single hour produced the same real result, which raises an unsettling question. How many hours are being wasted simply because the wrong methods are being used? If someone was told that studying less could lead to better outcomes, they might laugh. Yet that's exactly what happens when retention improves. Everything changed when active engagement replaced passive review. Instead of rereading text or decorating pages, the student began using practice problems, explaining ideas aloud, and connecting concepts to real examples. Retention soared, and the time needed to prepare dropped sharply. Academic performance rose not through more effort, but through smarter effort. So what should someone do if they want similar results? Here is a straightforward system. First, limit each study block to manageable stretches, around 30 to 60 minutes. Brains tap out long before most people realize it. Second, begin by trying to recall information before reviewing it. This exposes weak points and instantly shows what actually needs attention. Third, prioritize active techniques, answering questions, verbalizing explanations, or using simple flashcards. Passive reading rarely creates lasting understanding. Fourth, look for links between ideas. When a concept attaches to others, the mind retrieves it far more easily. Fifth, give the brain a brief review before sleeping. Memory systems work overnight, but only if material is fresh. These shifts seem small, yet they compound quickly. At this point, the viewer is encouraged to revisit the number chosen earlier. Does it still feel accurate, or has the scale shifted? That honest moment signals readiness for a new approach, because here is a truth worth remembering. Mastery grows when effort meets strategy. Most people believe success belongs to the naturally intelligent, but real academic growth simply follows the methods used daily. When the right techniques replace the wrong ones, progress becomes predictable. Even modest adjustments can transform how confidently someone walks into any exam room. And once a person experiences the difference real learning makes, it becomes impossible to return to the old way. The final invitation is simple. Upgrade the method, not just the effort. That's how any learner, regardless of starting point, unlocks results that once felt out of reach. Thanks for watching. If this breakdown helped, be sure to like the video and support Winds of Thought for more insights.